Your HubSpot platform holds a wealth of data in it, but you already know this. One item that is often overlooked, though, is all of the behavioral data you have access to but are not doing anything with. Think about every time you have historically sent email campaigns and continue to send them. You're generating what I term is black gold. All of the open and click data. 7sense empowers you to unlock this data using artificial intelligence and then put it into use. The first step in understanding how 7sense works is to understand how a profile is generated, which is what we'll review in this video. Once you've connected HubSpot and 7sense, the 7sense system doesn't just start today and look forward, it actually time travels. So if you've been using HubSpot for 3 months or 3 years, it will use all of the available engagement data. Once the system has collected this data, it then analyzes when each of your subscribers are opening and clicking on your emails, and then it uses this to build a profile on them. On my screen, one thing you can see is a visual heat map which displays when Mike at the7sense.com is most active. The darker the color, the more engaged. The way it does this is by analyzing events such as when is Mike opening emails? When is Mike clicking on emails? Is he doing that on a mobile device or is he doing that on a desktop? It takes all of this data into consideration and then uses AI to score each event looking for the most probable time each individual is likely to see and engage with your emails. As more data is created, it takes this new data into account and the profile becomes even smarter about each individual. The system will also decay data as it becomes older, so newer data is weighted more heavily than old data. One thing to note is the system is completely time zone independent, as the way time zones are collected is riddled with issues. Now, on my screen, this is not to say that Mike has never opened or clicked on an email at 10 a.m. on Wednesday. It just means that taking all of the data into consideration on a Wednesday, it hasn't registered enough to be as interesting. Now, should you really be looking at the visual heat map? No, it's purely there as a mechanism to provide transparency into how the system works. What comes next is that the system will not only bubble up a predicted top engagement time per day for each individual, what we can see here, but it will also bubble up the top engagement time across the week, what we can see here. The next thing the system does is build an individualized machine learning model on Mike's level of activity. We can see this here underneath the activity segment. The way this works is from the day that you send Mike your first marketing email until 90 days later, the system will build a baseline on his level of activity, and his activity level will show up as evaluating. After the 90-day evaluation period is over, Mike will fall into one of two areas. Active, which means that Mike could be increasing his level of activity, staying the same, or maybe his level of activity is decreasing, but it hasn't crossed a certain threshold. Or he could fall into passive, which means that Mike's activity levels have dropped off substantially as compared to his baseline. As time goes on, if Mike's level of activity has dropped below an even lower threshold, he will be classified as inactive. The baseline is also constantly evolving as more engagement data is created on Mike. Now that you have an understanding of how profiles are built, in subsequent videos we'll show you how to put all of this data to use.